What happens after death? A Buddhist perspective. Death is a universal truth, an inevitable passage every living being must face. Despite its certainty, death remains one of humanity's greatest mysteries. The question of what happens after we take our final breath has intrigued philosophers, scientists, and spiritual seekers for millennia. Buddhism offers a profound and intricate perspective on this enigma, one deeply rooted in its teachings about life, death, and the nature of existence. The Buddhist view of death, a transition, not an end. In Buddhism, death is not seen as an ultimate end, but rather as a transition in the cyclical journey of samsara, the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. This cycle is governed by the law of karma, the universal principle that every action has a corresponding consequence. What we experience after death, according to Buddhist teachings, is shaped by the seeds of karma we have sown during our lifetime. The Buddha taught that life and death are two sides of the same coin. Just as a wave rises and falls on the ocean, so too does consciousness rise and fall within the infinite expanse of existence. Death, in this sense, is a transformation, a dissolution of the physical body, and a continuation of the subtle consciousness. The journey through the bardo. Tibetan Buddhism delves deeply into the stages of death and what follows. It describes the bardo, an intermediate state between death and rebirth. This phase is a liminal space where the consciousness, freed from its physical vessel, experiences a series of visions, sensations, and realities shaped by the individual's past karma. The bardo typically unfolds in 3 stages: the dissolution of the physical elements. As the body dies, the elements that make up our physical being, earth, water, fire, air, and space, gradually dissolve. Each stage is marked by distinct sensations and mental experiences. For instance, as the earth element dissolves, one might feel a sense of heaviness and detachment. The encounter with the clear light of reality. In the next stage, the consciousness may encounter the clear light, a pure and luminous state representing the true nature of the mind. For those who have cultivated mindfulness and spiritual practice, recognizing this light can lead to liberation. The hallucinations of karma. For those unprepared or burdened by negative karma, the consciousness might encounter vivid, dreamlike experiences. These can include terrifying visions, radiant deities, or realms reflecting one's accumulated actions. Rebirth. The continuation of the journey. According to Buddhism, the ultimate destination after death depends on one's karma and the mental state at the moment of death. There are 6 realms of existence where one might be reborn. The heavenly realm, a state of bliss and pleasure reserved for those with good karma and virtuous lives. The Asura realm, a realm of jealousy and conflict, inhabited by beings who are powerful but consumed by envy. The human realm, considered the most precious realm for spiritual growth, offering a balance of pleasure and suffering. The animal realm, marked by ignorance and survival instincts. This realm is for those who have lived with base desires. The hungry ghost realm, a state of insatiable craving and unfulfilled desires. The hell realm, a dimension of intense suffering born from hateful and harmful actions. These realms are not permanent. They are temporary stages in the ongoing cycle of samsara. The ultimate goal in Buddhism is to transcend these cycles through enlightenment, achieving nirvana, a state of liberation from suffering and rebirth. Real-life examples, stories of rebirth and karma. Buddhist literature is rich with stories illustrating the concepts of karma and rebirth. One well-known tale is that of Milarepa, a Tibetan yogi who committed heinous acts in his youth but later devoted his life to spiritual practice. Through deep meditation and repentance, he transformed his negative karma and achieved enlightenment. Another modern example comes from the accounts of children who recall past lives. Researchers such as Dr. Ian Stevenson have documented cases of young children vividly describing previous lifetimes, with details later verified. These stories align with Buddhist teachings, suggesting that consciousness continues beyond death. Philosophical insights: the impermanence of life. At the heart of Buddhist teachings on death is the concept of anicca, or impermanence. Everything in life, our bodies, possessions, relationships, and even our identities, is transient. This realization is not meant to provoke fear, but to inspire a deeper appreciation for the present moment and encourage us to live with intention and compassion. Death also serves as a powerful reminder of our shared humanity. Regardless of wealth, status, or belief, death unites us all. This awareness can foster humility, kindness, and a commitment to live a meaningful life. Practical guidance preparing for death. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of preparing for death through spiritual practice. Here are some steps one can take. Cultivate virtuous actions. By practicing generosity, patience, and kindness, one accumulates positive karma that will benefit future lives. Develop mindfulness. Meditation and mindfulness help train the mind to remain calm and focused, especially during the dying process. Reflect on death. Contemplating the inevitability of death can motivate us to live authentically and prioritize what truly matters. Seek wisdom. Understanding the nature of reality through study and reflection can dispel fear and bring clarity. Embracing the mystery of death, a deeper dive into Buddhist philosophy. To delve further into the Buddhist view of death, one must understand the profound interconnectedness of life, consciousness, and the cosmos. In Buddhism, the phenomenon of death is neither an endpoint nor a random event. It is a meticulously woven thread in the grand tapestry of existence. It prompts reflection on not just the cessation of life, but the continuity of consciousness and the ethical weight of our actions. The law of karma, the architect of our afterlife. At the heart of Buddhist philosophy lies the law of karma, a principle as immutable as gravity in the physical world. Every thought, word, and action creates an imprint, shaping not only the experiences of this life, but also the conditions of future existences. Death, then, is like the closing of a chapter in a book whose ending is influenced by every choice we have made. A practical analogy: the garden of karma. Imagine your life as a garden. Every kind act, every compassionate word is a seed planted with care, destined to blossom into beauty and nourishment. Conversely, harmful actions sow thorns that may pierce not just others, but also yourself in the cycles to come. At death, the state of your garden, whether flourishing or overrun with weeds, determines the landscape you awaken to in your next life. Rebirth and the 6 realms, beyond the physical world. The 6 realms of existence in Buddhist cosmology are often interpreted metaphorically as states of consciousness, though they are also described as literal dimensions. These realms are not arbitrary. They represent the culmination of one's moral and spiritual journey. Let's explore each realm through practical examples. Heavenly realm. Imagine a philanthropist whose life has been devoted to selfless giving and compassion. According to Buddhist thought, their next existence may be marked by immense joy and abundance, symbolizing the rewards of virtuous karma. Human realm. A teacher who balances wisdom with flaws might reincarnate as a human, experiencing challenges that encourage further spiritual growth. Animal realm. A life dominated by ignorance, fear, or exploitation of others could lead to rebirth in the animal realm, marked by instinctive survival and lack of higher awareness. Asura realm. A powerful leader consumed by envy and competition might find themselves in the Asura realm, where constant conflict mirrors their inner turmoil. Hungry ghost realm. Those driven by insatiable greed, leaving a trail of harm, might experience the hungry ghost realm, a place of endless craving and dissatisfaction. Hell realm. Acts of extreme cruelty and hatred may manifest as rebirth in the hell realm, a state of intense suffering meant to purify negative karma. The role of consciousness. The soul's journey without a soul. Buddhism presents a unique perspective on consciousness. Unlike many traditions that believe in a permanent soul, Buddhism teaches the concept of anatta, the absence of a fixed self. What transmigrates after death is not a soul, but a stream of consciousness carrying the karmic impressions of past lives. The candle analogy. To explain this, the Buddha offered the analogy of a candle. Imagine lighting one candle from another. While the flame is continuous, it is not the same flame. Similarly, the consciousness at the time of death carries the essence of one's karmic energy into a new form without being a static, unchanging entity. Science and the Buddhist view of death. Intriguingly, modern science has begun to echo some of Buddhism's insights about consciousness and impermanence. Near-death experiences, NDEs, for example, align with Buddhist descriptions of the bardo. Many individuals report encountering a bright light, feelings of peace, and a review of their life's actions, all elements described in Tibetan Buddhist texts. Furthermore, the concept of interdependence in quantum physics resonates with Buddhist teachings of pratitya samutpada, or dependent origination. Everything in existence arises from a web of interconnected causes and conditions. This view suggests that death is not an annihilation, but a reconfiguration of energy and existence. Death as a teacher. Lessons for the living. In Buddhism, death is not a morbid subject to be feared, but a profound teacher. Contemplating death can inspire us to live with greater purpose and mindfulness. In fact, the Buddha recommended frequent reflection on death as a means to cultivate wisdom. The 4 reminders of death. Buddhism offers practical meditations to remind us of life's impermanence, inevitability of death. Every being that is born must die. Unpredictability of death. The time of death is unknown. It could come at any moment. The irrelevance of material possessions. At death, we leave behind all wealth, status, and possessions. The importance of karma. Only our actions and their consequences accompany us beyond death. These reflections are not meant to evoke fear, but to encourage us to focus on what truly matters: kindness, wisdom, and inner peace. Real-world reflections. What can we do? As we ponder the Buddhist perspective on death, practical steps can help us prepare for this inevitable transition. Daily acts of kindness. Simple actions like helping a neighbor, forgiving a wrong, or sharing a meal can plant seeds of positive karma. Spiritual practice. Regular meditation and mindfulness anchor the mind, making it more resilient during life's transitions. Legacy of love. Focus on relationships and the impact you leave behind, as these create ripples that endure beyond this life. A final thought. The great mystery. Death, in the Buddhist view, is not to be conquered or avoided, but embraced as part of the great mystery of existence. It is a portal to new beginnings, a reminder of life's impermanence, and a catalyst for spiritual awakening. By understanding death, we learn to live, not with fear, but with profound gratitude, humility, and compassion. So, the question remains, if death is inevitable, how will you choose to live? This is the essence of the Buddhist teaching, not to dwell on the unknown, but to make each moment of this life a step toward enlightenment, peace, and boundless love. Death as the ultimate mirror, insights into the self. Death in Buddhism is often described as the ultimate mirror reflecting the essence of one's being. When the final moment arrives, it strips away the superficial layers, wealth, power, relationships, and even identity, leaving only the raw truth of who we are and the karmic imprints we carry. This profound revelation is why Buddhism places so much emphasis on preparation for death, not as an end, but as a moment of ultimate truth. The Maranasati, meditating on death. Buddhist monks and practitioners often engage in a practice known as Maranasati, or mindfulness of death. This is not a morbid fixation, but a tool to cultivate awareness of life's impermanence and encourage meaningful living. In some traditions, practitioners even meditate in charnel grounds, observing decaying bodies to internalize the reality of mortality. A profound question: what will you carry? When standing at the threshold of death, the only things we carry are the ripples of our actions, the state of our mind, and the quality of our heart. This perspective offers a powerful reminder: live each day as though it were your last, not in a frantic quest for pleasure, but in the quiet pursuit of wisdom, compassion, and authenticity. Death and nirvana, the ultimate liberation. In Buddhist philosophy, the ultimate goal is not just to prepare for death, but to transcend it entirely. This state is known as nirvana, the cessation of suffering and the end of the cycle of birth and death. Nirvana is not a place or a destination. It is a state of liberation where the fires of greed, hatred, and ignorance are extinguished. The death of the ego. To reach nirvana, one must let go of the ego, the illusory sense of a fixed self that clings to life out of fear of annihilation. Paradoxically, it is in embracing the impermanence of the self that one finds eternal peace. This is why enlightened beings like the Buddha face death with equanimity, knowing it is merely the dissolution of the physical form, not the end of awareness. A real-life example, the Buddha's final words. When the Buddha was on his deathbed, his disciples were overcome with grief. Yet his final words were not of despair, but of empowerment. All compounded things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence. In this simple statement, the Buddha encapsulated the essence of his teachings. Accept impermanence and focus on the path to awakening. The role of rituals, guiding the departed. In many Buddhist cultures, death rituals play a crucial role in supporting the deceased's journey and comforting the living. These rituals often include chanting, offerings, and prayers to transfer merit to the departed and guide their consciousness through the intermediate states. The Tibetan Phawa practice, one of the most revered practices in Tibetan Buddhism, is Phawa, the transference of consciousness at the time of death. This meditation, often guided by a spiritual teacher, helps the dying individual direct their consciousness toward enlightenment or a favorable rebirth. It is a poignant reminder of the interconnectedness of all beings. Even in death, the community gathers to support the soul's journey. Modern-day adaptations. In contemporary society, Buddhist death rituals have expanded to include practices like green burials, where the body is returned to the earth in a natural way, reflecting the principle of interdependence. These rituals are not only environmentally conscious, but also deeply symbolic, honoring the cyclical nature of life and death. The intersection of science and spirituality, bridging the gap. While Buddhism offers a spiritual framework for understanding death, modern science has also made strides in exploring what happens at the end of life. Fields like near-death studies, palliative care, and consciousness research provide insights that often align with Buddhist teachings. Near-death experiences, NDEs. Many accounts of near-death experiences describe phenomena similar to Buddhist teachings on the bardo. Encounters with a bright light, a sense of floating, and a life review where one experiences the impact of their actions on others. These experiences challenge the notion that consciousness ceases entirely at death and hint at a continuation beyond the physical body. The science of compassion. Studies in neuroscience show that acts of kindness and compassion not only improve mental well-being, but also create lasting changes in the brain. These findings echo the Buddhist emphasis on cultivating metta, loving kindness, and karuna, compassion, as preparation for death, ensuring a peaceful and positive transition. Facing death in daily life. A call to live fully. Ultimately, the Buddhist perspective on death is not just about what happens after we die, but how we live now. Death is a powerful motivator to align our lives with our highest values, to resolve conflicts, to express love, and to engage deeply with the present moment. The practice of letting go. Letting go is a cornerstone of Buddhist practice. Whether it's letting go of material attachments, grudges, or the illusion of control, each act of surrender prepares us for the ultimate letting go, death. This practice, paradoxically, brings greater joy and freedom in life, as it unburdens us from the fear of loss. The legacy of a meaningful life. In the end, what matters is not how long we live, but how well. A life lived with integrity, compassion, and mindfulness leaves a legacy that extends far beyond the grave. It is said that the ripples of a single kind act can echo through generations, a testament to the enduring power of love and wisdom. A deeper dive into death, lessons in eternity. The Buddhist perspective on death is not merely about the end of life, it's about the essence of life itself. By exploring death deeply, Buddhism reveals profound truths about existence, consciousness, and the boundless potential for awakening. Let us expand on these ideas, exploring more nuanced teachings and practices that prepare one not only for the end of life, but for a richer, more meaningful journey through existence. The mind at the moment of death, a critical turning point. In Buddhist teachings, the moment of death is a unique and critical juncture. The mental state at the time of death has a profound impact on the trajectory of consciousness. The Buddha compared this moment to the way a potter's wheel continues to spin after it is struck. A final positive thought can steer consciousness toward a favorable rebirth, while a negative state can lead to suffering. Practical wisdom. Training the mind for death. This principle underscores the importance of mental training. Through meditation, mindfulness, and ethical living, one can prepare the mind to remain calm, focused, and fearless when the time comes. Practices such as chanting or repeating sacred mantras at the moment of death are intended to anchor the mind in positivity and clarity. The deathbed vigil. In many Buddhist cultures, families and monks gather at a dying person's bedside to chant and guide their consciousness toward a peaceful state. This practice serves two purposes: to support the dying person and to remind the living of the impermanence of life. It transforms the experience of death from a solitary ordeal into a communal act of love and compassion. The Intermediate States Bardo Revisited, a map for the afterlife. The Bardo, or intermediate state, is described in great detail in Tibetan Buddhism, particularly in the Bardo Thodol, commonly known as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It provides a map of the post-death journey, offering guidance for navigating this liminal space. The three Bardos, the Chikai Bardo, the moment of death. This is when the consciousness separates from the body and encounters the clear light of ultimate reality. Recognizing this light leads to liberation, but only those with advanced spiritual training are likely to succeed. The Chonyid Bardo, the hallucinations of karma. During this phase, the consciousness experiences visions that reflect one's karma. These can be beautiful or terrifying, depending on the ethical quality of one's life. The key teaching here is that these visions are projections of the mind and have no inherent reality. The Sidpa Bardo, the transition to rebirth. In the final stage, the consciousness seeks a new form. It is drawn toward a womb that resonates with its karmic energy, leading to rebirth in one of the 6 realms of existence, karma and rebirth, the threads that bind. One of the most fascinating aspects of Buddhist teachings on death is the intricate relationship between karma and rebirth. While the specific mechanics of rebirth are mysterious, Buddhism teaches that every action leaves a trace like a footprint in wet sand. These karmic imprints influence not only the circumstances of one's next life, but also the experiences one encounters after death. The paradox of freedom and determinism. Interestingly, while karma determines the conditions of rebirth, it does not dictate them rigidly. At every moment, including in the Bardo, consciousness has the potential to awaken, recognize its true nature, and break free from the cycle of samsara. This dynamic interplay between cause and effect and free will is a hallmark of Buddhist philosophy. Beyond the 6 realms, the path to liberation. The ultimate aim in Buddhism is not to navigate the cycle of rebirth, but to transcend it altogether. This is achieved through the realization of shunyata, emptiness, and the cultivation of wisdom and compassion, the illusion of the self. One of the reasons we fear death is our attachment to the idea of a permanent, unchanging self. Buddhism dismantles this illusion, teaching that the self is a composite of ever-changing elements. Understanding this truth dissolves the fear of annihilation and opens the door to liberation. The Bodhisattva's path. For those on the Mahayana path, the goal is not merely personal liberation, but the liberation of all beings. The Bodhisattva vows to return again and again, using each life to alleviate suffering and guide others toward enlightenment. This perspective transforms death from a source of fear into an opportunity for service. Meditation on death, transforming fear into wisdom. Buddhist teachings encourage us to confront death directly, not as an abstract concept, but as a lived reality. Here are some meditative practices that deepen our understanding of death. Visualizing your own death. Sit quietly and imagine the process of dying in vivid detail, the slowing of the breath, the dissolution of the senses, and the separation of consciousness. Reflect on what remains when everything you cling to is gone. This practice cultivates detachment and a deeper awareness of impermanence. Contemplating the bodies of others. Reflect on the universal nature of death by observing the passing of loved ones, strangers, and even enemies. Recognize that death is the great equalizer, dissolving all distinctions. Meditating on interconnectedness, consider how your actions today will ripple through the fabric of existence long after you are gone. This meditation fosters a sense of responsibility and encourages compassionate action. Modern reflections, applying Buddhist wisdom in a secular world. Even for those who do not identify as Buddhist, the teachings on death offer profound insights into the human condition. They challenge us to reframe our relationship with mortality, seeing it not as an enemy to be defeated, but as a teacher to be embraced. Lessons for the living: prioritize what matters. When faced with death, material possessions and petty grievances fade into insignificance. Use this awareness to focus on what truly enriches your life. Cultivate inner peace. A calm and focused mind is the best preparation for both life and death. Practices like meditation, yoga, and journaling can help build this inner resilience. Leave a legacy of love. Remember that the impact of your actions will outlast your physical form. Strive to leave the world a little kinder, a little brighter. As we draw this journey to a close, let us take a moment to reflect. Life is fleeting, a precious gift of impermanence that teaches us to cherish each moment. Death is not the end. It is a mirror, a teacher, and a doorway. By embracing its truth, we learn how to live fully, love deeply, and leave a meaningful legacy. Let this message be a gentle reminder to nurture kindness in your actions, wisdom in your choices, and peace in your heart. For what we do in this life echoes beyond, shaping not just our future, but the world we leave behind. Now I invite you to share your thoughts. What does death teach you about life? How do you find meaning in the face of impermanence? Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your perspective. And if this journey has inspired you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to this channel. Together we can explore life's mysteries and create a space for wisdom and compassion to flourish. Thank you for watching. May your path be filled with peace, love, and enlightenment.